Hey guys, during this time of being indoors, I've been reorganizing, cleaning my comic book collection, and seeing a lot of top 50 videos on YouTube, so I decided to make my own first top 50 collection for now as well, and here are some of the runner-ups first that didn't make it into my top 50 list. Now starting at number 1 of my runner-up list is Death Made Black, which is not too much of a valued book, especially since the copies that I have, which I have 2 of, are just standard editions because they do come in a gold variant, which are worth a bit more. But this book is important to me because, as you can see, I am a fan of J. Scott Campbell, and this is an early J. Scott Campbell character that he has written, Gen 13, which makes the first appearance in Death Made Black. The next runner-up book is Amazing Spider-Man number 51, which is the second appearance of Kingpin in this title and the first cover appearance. I do not own Amazing Spider-Man number 50, but this is my placeholder until I may get my hands on that book. And it is a Silver Age book. There is slight creasing on it and a lot of scuffing and damage, but other than that, it presents well and it has Kingpin on the cover. My next runner-up book is Tales of Suspense number 47, which is one of the last appearances of the gold Iron Man suit, and it is right before the red and yellow iconic suit that we all know and love. This is a very bad condition, probably a 1.0 to 0.5, or maybe even ungradable. Probably a 0.5 to ungradable, but I got this for a steal and probably paid a little over cover price for this book, and just to have such an early appearance of Iron Man for that low, I was happy to take that. Now the next runner-up book we have is this X-Men number 1, which is from the 90s, which is, of course, a cover that many of us have seen or probably own because the 90s X-Men books were the record selling of all the X-Men books. And of course it would be top selling, especially for the cover art, which is done by Jim Lee. And this book that I own is signed by Mr. Jim Lee himself. I have not met him, and this is my placeholder of a book if I do meet him and get something graded by him, but this is a special signature that was given out with this Comics Express photo, which I think was just some kind of retailer incentive kind of release that he did, some limited signings that were given out to people. I do not know the story of it. I just know that I got this book for cheap from a friend who found a lot of different books and was part of that lot, and it's just nice to have a Jim Lee signature, especially with knowing how much he goes for now. Now the last runner-up book is War Machine number 1. This is not a key appearance by any means. It is the first appearance of War Machine in his self-titled series. Standard 90s foil cover, but a nice silver on black. And this is a special book for me personally because it is my first comic book I have ever purchased at my LCS a little over 10 years ago. And after this book, I started really getting into Marvel Comics and just comic book collecting. So this has a special honorary spot in my PC. Now, starting with our top 50, we have number 50, Dark Horse Presents 5th Anniversary Special, which is a more bound book, closer to like a trade paperback. This copy has some slight scuffing, but I got it for just as it's from a resale price and not too expensive. But it is the first comic book appearance of Sin City in a story. And, everyone knows Frank Miller's Sin City run, and this is the first appearance. At number 49, we have Avengers number 237. This is a 9.8 grade Stan Lee signature, and that's sort of the main reason why it is in my top 50, and it's kind of at this number in top 50 just because it is Avengers 237, which has a Spider-Man, Moonstone, Rhino, Electro, and Blackhead appearance, but that's pretty much it. The cover has some Avengers on it, but it has the Avengers title and Spider-Man in the center, and that is why I have this, and it is also my only Stan Lee certified signature in a comic book. I do have his signature from when he did his last New York Comic Con signing, and at the time it was not seriously into collecting books, so I only had a poster signed. Still happy to have that, as you can see it. but this is my only certified graded Stanley signature and Stanley signature that I own on a comic book. At number 48, we have Infinity Gauntlet number 1. This is the first title issue of the Infinity Gauntlet, and this book is about a 9.496 maybe. Pretty clean. Could be a 9.8 if I press it and stuff, possibly, but just with how Marvel and the MCU have been running, this is just an iconic book to have for any Marvel fan, whether it's in your top 50 or just something you should have in your PC. Also, at the time of getting this book, I bought it in a set, and this was, I got the whole Infinity Gauntlet saga of single issues all in 9.2 or higher for my LCS, and this was before the MCU movie speculation. I'm pretty glad that I got this before the book started blowing up, although I think it may have started to dip a little bit because the movie has ended, but it's still a good book to look for if you do not already own it. The next book is Star Wars number 6. Now I have 2 copies of Star Wars number 6. This one is a first print newsstand edition, and as a Star Wars fan, I think it's important to have at least some kind of Star Wars title in your PC, and I do have the second print and first print of this, but this is an important book because it does come from my dad's own PC, and he gave this to me when I started looking and starting to collect more into comics, so this is passed down, and it is a decent grade. I think it's a little faded, but it's still, though, the oldest first print of Star Wars that he did have. He did have 2 through 6 and some other Star Wars books that were all the Diamond second printings, but this one is the only Star Wars book from this time period that I do have a first printing of. Now the next book is Moon Knight number 1, which I also have 2 copies of, both in similar condition, although this one and the Protector is slightly better. There's less spine ticks than this other one, but both of these probably range from a 7.5 to 8.0 grade, and I do like Moon Knight. It is not his first appearance, but his first title sold series, and this was also passed down from that same PC from my dad, and it's just a good book to have if you cannot get a Werewolf by Night 32. Next on the list is Captain Marvel number 11. Now this book does have some corner tears, and it's a little not as sharp as it could be, especially because you have this nasty circle where a value stamp was, as where a sales sticker was, and it sort of peeled off color when it started falling apart. But you know, besides the minor splits, the whole thing presents really nice. The colors on this by Smith and Trimpe are excellent to look at. It's the only Captain Marvel book from this time period that I have, and it is also handed down from that same PC as the Moon Knight and some of the other books I showed from before. So this is sentimentally a good book for me to have, and it's sort of one of the reasons why I started to engage into more serious collecting. Number 44 is X Factor. Number 24, Fall of Mutants. This is the first appearance of Archangel. This copy is in a mid-grade condition, slight spine roll and slight staple damage from, spine ticks and things. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's a little on the dirty side. The whites are not as white as they could be, but with a clean, if I wanted to, it could come out as maybe a mid-grade 5 to 6, probably no more than a 6, but it is first appearance of Archangel, and as a X-Men collector, I do enjoy having a key issue like this. At number 43 is X-Force number 2. Now this copy I did get before the Deadpool movie hype. There is a slight crease that is hard to notice unless you look really closely, but it can easily be pressed out, and it would be from a 9.2 to 9.4 with that pressed out. And I believe I got this for maybe $10 most or less. And I don't know how much they go for now, but for a second appearance of Deadpool, knowing that I cannot afford a New Mutants 98 in a good condition like this is good enough for me. The next book is Power Man and Iron Fist number 50. This is more of a mid-grade book. probably 5.5 tops, closer to maybe 4.55. It's faded, it's not as white as it could be, but this book is a Power Man and Iron Fist, and if you are a fan of Defenders, this is a book that you should have, because you have both Luke Cage and Iron Fist on the cover, with this awesome 1960s sort of red in the background, and them just kind of punching through. And this book, personally for me, is in my PC because it was an A-OK from one of my close friends who I do go to a lot of comic book hunting and Comic-Cons with. So that is from him, and that's why this is in my PC. Sticking with Power Man and Iron Fist and all the Defenders, we have a Defenders #1, which is not the first appearance, but it is the first title in the Defender series. And this was also given to me for a reasonable price from my friend with a lot that he had that he sold to me that was just a pretty good lot. And this is just a key book to have. It's bright reds, and you see Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Namor, and it's just very nice. Up next is Gen 13 #1. This book is a 9.6 CGC grade, signed by the man J. Scott Campbell himself, and I got this book signed just recently at New York Comic Con. And this is the first issue in the self-title of Gen 13, which also has work done in here by Jim Lee. So if I could get Jim Lee to sign this one day, I definitely will send this back out just to get a sign. It goes down to a 9 or 9.2. If I get Jim Lee's signature on it, I should be content with it. And this is also kind of special to me because it is part of my first and only CG submission. Next up, we have Uncanny X-Men, issue 142. This is part 2 of the 2-part Days of Future Past storyline. This book is modest grade, probably mid, 6 at most, 6.0, 5.5. There's slight tick marks and little corner creases, but other than that, it presents well. And, just having that Sentinel attacking Wolverine like that, I prefer this cover surprisingly more so than 141, which I do not have yet, because I have not found it in a price range I am willing to get for my Claremont run. But with the vibrant greens and the yellows and purples, it just works out so nicely. And this is a nice little newsstand version, and it's just an awesome book to have as an X-Men collector. The next book, which I also have 2 copies of, is ROM Space Knight #1. First issue of the ongoing title and appearance of ROM Space Knight. These are both newsstand editions, and probably ranges like an 8.0 to 8.5 pressed. This was also part of my dad's PC, and this was the first series that I really got into, and there was at least half the run in his long box that I read through when I was younger, and I actually opened these books and read through them, which now I probably would not do that too often anymore, but this was the first time I actually ran through single issue books and read a whole title. So this is I will probably get these graded at some point and just keep for my PC. Next up is New Mutants #1. This is just the first title of New Mutants, and that's it. That's the key for this book, New Mutants #1. Next book is X-Men 11. Nothing too crazy about this book. Appearance of the Stranger, Silver Age book. This is lower grade copy, but it's not too terrible on the damage, and it's intact. Still presents really nicely, but this is the lowest number count of Silver Age X-Men in my Silver Age X-Men run that I am working on currently. Next book we have is Uncanny X-Men 134. Another classic storyline, another classic cover. This is the first appearance of the Dark Phoenix. So this is when Jean Grey becomes evil. Basically, she gets consumed by the Phoenix Force and has become the Dark Phoenix. And this is a new stand edition. This is just a classic cover and storyline to have. Although it's not my favorite X-Men cover, it is very valued and important to have in my Claremont collection. The next book we have is Fantastic Four 38. Now this book is a lower grade, mid to low grade, probably like a 3.0 plus. There's a lot of damage on the side and some rolling. I have no idea if it was attempted to be restored, but I picked this up at Comic-Con for a good deal, under $10 probably, and it is the first appearance of the Frightful Four and Medusa, so I'm trying to get on my Inhumans first appearances and key issues, and this is the only one I have for now. Next book is War Machine, Iron Man 282, first appearance of War Machine, and nothing much to say, it's just the first appearance of War Machine. Next book is X-Men 39. This is another Silver Age X-Men book. It's a little bit of a lower grade because I did have the reprint in a higher grade. That was the first Silver Age book I got. And I love this book because it is the first appearance of the team in their new costumes and new suits, rather than the standard black and yellow suits. So this is a more colored approach of the new team. And on the reprint I read when I first got that book, is my first Silver Age book, although it's a reprint. So I do love this cover, and it does have that value of as an X-Men collector. The next book on this list is Tales of Suspense, number 48. Now, this book I paid a little more for, but for what it is, I am not crazy upset about that. And it's a low grade of like a 2.0, 2.5, maybe more of a 2.0. But it's a presentable book, solid copy, and it's the first appearance of Tony Stark in his new red and yellow suit. So before this, it was just the silver one in the first book and gold later on. So this was the gold and red combination. The next book we have on this list is Spawn number 1, and it's just fine gray copy, probably 7.5 to 8, but I just needed a Spawn number 1. Todd McFarlane's awesome work. I would say this is, besides his ASM stuff, this is probably the most iconic thing, so this is what I have for to represent McFarlane. Now at number 29 is Amazing Spider-Man 135. This is the second appearance of the Punisher. This copy is a little lower grade, mid to lower grade, and the colors are not as bright as I wish they could be, but second appearance of Punisher, cannot fathom how to get the first appearance for now, and it is just a nice 25-cent Amazing Spider-Man book. Next book on our list is Tales of Suspense, number 99. This book has seen a little bit of wear, and seeing that it is toward the end of the Tales of Suspense run, actually this is the last Tales of Suspense issue before it becomes Invincible Iron Man. This is, to me, is an iconic Iron Man cover, and I always remember this being one of the big Tales of Suspense books that I had wanted, and I was able to find this as part of a good deal during Comic-Con. And there's bright colors on this. Just a lovely classic Iron Man issue. Next book on our list is Watchmen number 1. Now this book, done by Alan Moore, this is a single, the single issues of the omnibuses you can get, but this is number 1 issue, pretty clean, probably a 9.4 plus. It could use a press because there's a little bit of wrinkling damage toward the top, but it's not much damage, just needs to be a little bit pressed. But I got this for a good price. I'm working on a Watchmen single issue set, and I'm halfway through, so I'm happy that I got number 1 out of the way. I also have number 12, so the first and last I am out of the way with, and I just need to fill in the gaps. The next book on our list is Secret Origins of Superheroes, number 17. This is more of a mid-grade copy, but it still presents pretty nicely, maybe 5 to 6. And it is the first appearance of the Huntress, so not big on DC collecting, but I do like Huntress. The next book, also DC, is the new Teen Titans number 1. Now, for me, I do not have the first appearance of them, but this is their first title appearance in this series. And this is a modest book. It's not the highest grade. It could use a press. It could use a clean. But I just love this cover. I love the work in here. And I used to grow up watching the Teen Titans cartoon series before they're doing whatever they're doing with it now. So Teen Titans for me always has a special place in my heart for just the DC and superhero world. Next book we have is Marvel Premiere number 47. First appearance of Scott Lang in Ant-Man costume. So he did appear as Ant-Man in a previous Avengers book. Ant-Man has already been an ongoing title by this point, but this is the first time Scott Lang is in his own series of Ant-Man. The next book on our list is New Mutants Annual number 2. This is a moderately graded book. I think it could be pressed and cleaned, and it could be maybe a 7.5 to 8.0, but it is the first appearance of Psylocke, which is, to me, an important X-Men character to have, and this is the first US appearance because she was Betsy Braddock in the UK, but this is the first time she appears in a US title, and it's New Mutants Annual number 2. Next book on my list is Marvel Premiere number 1, featuring the power of Warlock. This is a low grade, probably no more than a 3, 2 grade probably, but it is first appearance of Adam Warlock, no longer being him, but Adam Warlock. So you get him in this awesome new outfit, no longer in his cocoon, no longer in his He-Man looking getup, and it's just a good book to have as a fan of Warlock. Next book we have is Marvel graphic novel number 4, first edition, the first printing, and it's a New Mutants title, so basically it's the first appearance of the New Mutants. So New Mutants number 1 is good to have because it's the first in-title issue of New Mutants run, but New Mutants from the Marvel graphic novel number 4 is where it is at. Next book we have here is Amazing Spider-Man number 252. This is the first appearance of the black suit symbiote Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man title. It's arguably could be the first appearance ever, but there's other issues that connotate that too. So this is the first appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man title. Awesome, Amazing Fantasies cover swipe, and this is a newsstand edition. Next book on my list is X Factor number 5, which I do have 2 copies of. One is a direct edition and a newsstand edition, which is not as clean, has some water damage and tanning on it, but I'm happy to own this bright white edition and this older newsstand edition just to have the newsstand printing of it. And this is the first cameo appearance of Apocalypse, which I believe is an important character for the X-Men universe and has a lot of potential in the MCU films. Coming at number 18, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 46. This is a Silver Age Spider-Man book, and it's one of the only Amazing Spider-Man books I have with a key villain, which is the Shocker. And this book is on a lower grade. It has this big, gnarly watermark damage, and a bunch of spine crease and ticks on it, and some chipping here and there, but other than that, it presents well. You can still see Shocker, you can still see Spidey, and it's just an awesome book to have for any Spider-Man fan looking for any kind of keys, because I believe Shocker is a bit undervalued compared to some of the other Spidey villains, although he did make that brief cameo appearance in Spider-Man Homecoming. But really nice book, not too hard to look for, and just good to have. The next book on my list is Gen 13 number 1. So I already showed the other Gen 13 number 1 that I had signed by J. Scott Campbell 9.6, but this is the variant sketch edition, which I had forever looked for in every Comic-Con that I've been to. On eBay listings, I had not found this book forever, and I finally found it in some blank sketch variant boxes at the most recent Comic-Con. So this is high on my list just because it's been a hunt to find this book, and really hard to find this book. It's just rare to find, I think, because they're probably either scarce or been drawn on already. And this is a book that one day I will see if I can ever get Campbell to do a remarked sketch on this, and that will probably be moved up on my top 50 list at that point. Coming at number 16 is X-Men 104. This is a cover swipe of X-Men number 1, and it's the closest thing I will have for an X-Men number 1 besides my instead of my reprint versions in like Amazing Adventures and some of my other just collected editions. But this one is newsstand variant. I don't know if they actually came in something other than newsstand for at this early on in the X-Men title, but this was just a vibrant kind of cover and one of my favorite Claremont issue covers. Coming at number 15 is Amazing Spider-Man number 42. This is a nice cover. This is a bit of a lower grade. There was some spine damage and issues holding the book together, but seeing that I'm just keeping it for my PC, I just love this book because it is the first cameo appearance, or first full face cameo of Mary Jane Watson with the iconic panel of the hit the jackpot tiger thing. You know, you just hit the jackpot panel, that iconic classic one. So I just love to have this as a fan of Mary Jane and the Spider-Man continuity. Next book coming at number 14 is Amazing Spider-Man 59. This is a cameo appearance, I would say, of the Kingpin as the Brainwasher. Other than that, it's key because it is the first cover appearance of Mary Jane, and this one presents very nicely for Silver Age that I own. There's some minor tick mark wear, but and it could be cleaned and pressed, and I could reach this book for maybe a 6 or 7 at most, probably more of a leaning toward a mid 6.0 or 5.5. I am not a professional grader, but it is definitely one of my cleaner Silver Age copies. Next on my list is 3 copies of Uncanny X-Men 135. This, for the longest time, when I started getting a little more serious into collecting, this was my favorite issue. If I ever find one for a decent price, I probably will pick it up because I always want to find a better copy of it. And it's just an iconic X-Men cover swipe done for Dark Phoenix, and it is the first full appearance of Jean Grey as Dark Phoenix, although it's not labeled on the CGC as so. I do have a really clean direct edition, which I may get signed one day in the future by Claremont, and I have 2 newsstand copies. One which they're both on sort of the more bent up and damaged ends, but more of a lower mid grade. But you know, they're still newsstand editions. One's pretty clean, and the other one I actually got signed by Claremont when I first started getting signings. This was not a CGC witnessed, but it was just nice to meet him, and I got a picture, and he signed his book, so I'm really happy with this one. Coming at number 12 on my list is New Mutants number 14. This was also part of a haul that my friend had found for me of just a bunch of New Mutants books, and it is very clean. It is probably a 6 to 7 grade. With the press, it could be a 7 to 7.5, maybe hopefully higher, and is the first appearance of Ilyana Rasputin as Magic. So it's first appearance of Magic, which I think is an awesome X-Men character. I think she's been picking up a little steam from some fans, but this is her first appearance, and although the cover is pretty great, it's not anything extra special about Magic, although she's kind of taking a nap over here in the cover, but it's an excellent book, first appearance, key issue for me. Coming at number 11 is Amazing Spider-Man 299. Now this book I got for a decent price, maybe like $20 or less from my LCS during one of the recent Comic-Cons. This is just a regular direct edition, nothing extra special about it, but it is the first cameo appearance of Venom and Eddie Brock appearance, and it's a McFarlane second issue he worked on, and this is the closest thing I'll get for a 300 for now. So I do like this book, especially for the price that I was able to pick it up at. Now, the top 10 books. Number 10 is Uncanny X-Men 129. This book could use an upgrade, but this is my reader copy, and I do like how it presents. It's just a bit dirty, and with the press, it might look a little nicer, although there is some creasing and edge damage that will not really get this a high grade that I might want, but it is first appearance of Kitty Pryde, and it's the first part of the Dark Phoenix saga, which is my favorite storyline within the X-Men Claremont continuity, and it's just an amazing cover with, Wolverine, Storm, and Colossus, and it's just a key book, I think. It's starting to pick up some steam. More people are looking into this book, and I got this for a modest price and for a modest grade, and I do wish I can upgrade it, but maybe in the future, because I already have this as a reader copy, and I already have it in the collection, so I am not in a rush to pick up a higher copy for now. At number 9 is Wolverine number 1. This is the 4-issue limited series, so like the first Wolverine run that was done solo run by Marvel. This one is the Frank Miller work. Very clean copy, probably 8.5 to 9 if I did get it graded with the press. And this was also found from my friend who found a lot, and he was able to get me this for a good price. And it's just Wolverine #1. You just can't beat a #1 issue. I would get this signed if I ever get a chance to meet Frank Miller and if I had the funds to get his autograph. Number 8 is my Vampirella #1. It's a hollow foil variant. It's got a Vampirella poster, as the CGC states here. It's a little lower grade than I had expected, but 9.2, still pretty decent with sort of the variant and limited kind of cover. It's also signed by Campbell, and this was also one of the books that I had been looking to get for the longest time for a good price, and that I really wanted to get him to sign. And I got that done with the most recent Comic-Con. This was one of the books I had submitted for my first CGC submission. So for a 9.2, pretty good. Number 7 on my list is X Factor #6. Now this is a newsstand edition, so it is nice to have. It's on a mid-lower grade, and I am getting this upgraded because I just recently found a better copy that I just bought, and I am waiting for it to arrive, which is also newsstand edition, but it's a much higher grade, probably closer to in the 9 range. This is closer to maybe the 8, 7.5 to 8, but it's just good to have. And at the time, I got this with one of my X Factor 5s in the lot, and I paid a decent price, probably lower than average price for this. And it is the first full appearance of Apocalypse, which for me is very important in the X-Men universe. Number 6, another nice red-orange cover. This is a Marvel Superhero Secret Wars #8. First appearance of the alien symbiote, and it's the iconic black suit Spider-Man on the cover. This is a newsstand variant, so it is very clean, very nice, and I picked this up for my LCS before the Venom hype and before talk of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. And this book is pretty clean, probably 9.2 to 9.6, I believe it was predicted at. So I will probably get this pressed, cleaned, and CGC'd at some point, and if I get a chance to get it signed, I will probably get that done first. Coming up in our top 5, number 5 spot is Amazing Spider-Man 122. This is Death of Green Goblin. It is one of my more key Spider-Man issues that I do own. It could probably use a good clean and a press, and it could probably be a 7, maybe 7.5. But I got this from a lot, and I did not pay too much on this, and for what I know the value of this book is, I am very happy to have found such a clean copy with bright colors. John Romita, can't go wrong with that. Just excellent, iconic story, iconic art, and growing up watching the original Spider-Man movies from Raimi, this is just, it's just my younger self just gets very excited looking at this book and knowing the history and the storyline that goes with this. Coming at number 4 is New Mutants 87. I picked this up for a reasonable price. Probably a little understandard price that it goes for. I wish it could be a little brighter, but orange to red copies, I know it's either reds or orange, and this is a good orange to reds, not faded. It probably can go for an 8.5, and I do have my reader's second print copy with the gold, which is much nicer, but then again, it's also second print, so I have both these copies, and it was a book that I was looking for a while, collecting New Mutants books, and trying to get a New Mutants run, and also being a fan of Cable and Deadpool, and I picked this up before the second movie came out, so I picked this up before any major increases in value, but I still thought I was never going to own this, and now I own one. Number 3 is All New, All Different X-Men number 94. Now this, to me, is one of my GRAIL books. It is one of my favorite X-Men covers. It is the first time the X-Men is in their new second, pretty much kind of a second series continuation run from the original Silver Age, right after Giant Size. So it's the new titled comic book series starting with Claremont. and this one is a lower grade copy, mid to lower grade, because there is color loss and there is creases, and it's not perfect, but it presents very nicely, and for the price to go for it and the price that I got for this, I was very happy to get a clean copy like this, although there is some color breakage and creasing, but for presentation and to have on as such a low number of the Claremont run is pretty awesome. Number 2, we are at number 2. This is my grail of a book, highly coveted for myself in my collection, and just recently acquired this year back from CGC, along with my other first-time CGC submissions, is my X-Men 101, signed by Chris Claremont, 8.5. This is the origin and first appearance of Phoenix. There's a Juggernaut and Tom Cassidy appearance, but it is the origin and first appearance of Phoenix, and I snatched this book sort of on a stealth buy. I bid on this, and I got it for a reasonable price. It was marketed at possibly 7.5 with a press and a clean, and when I first got it, I was just hoping for maybe a 6.5, but I got it pressed, cleaned, and signed. It came back 8.5, and I could not ask for a higher grade for this just because it presents so beautifully, it's signed, and it's such a grail. So this is a big, valuable piece for me. Now, coming at number 1 is Giant Size X-Men number 1. Of course, we could not end a top 50 as someone who tries to collect and do an X-Men run without a Giant Size X-Men number 1. Now, this is a copy I've had for a good minute. I paid a decent amount for this. I still try to pick them up for under the fair market value just because they are a crazy expensive grails to pick up. But this is one that I've got so far, and it is on a lower condition, probably no more than a 3, probably a 2, or less even. It's just really, tears, folds, chipping, tanning, missing color, but it is a Giant Size X-Men number 1, and low grade is better than no grade, right? Or just having the book is better than not having this book. But recently I was able to purchase a second copy, and this copy is just much more immaculate, and I was just telling all my friends about finding this grail, and it's so clean. If I get it pressed, I get it cleaned, I can hope for like a 7.5, 7.0 tops, and I will be content. If I send it out to CGC, there's slight color loss, but the corners are here compared to my first one, and I officially own 2 copies, which is kind of crazy, and I will probably get them both pressed and cleaned at some point, and probably try to resell this this older copy I've had for a minute. But it was good while I had it, but it was time for an upgrade, and it's pretty crazy that I am looking at 2 issues of moderate condition of Giant Size X-Men number 1. So that is my top 50, and thanks for sticking around this long if you did. And stay safe, everyone, and keep collecting and reading your books.